In the darkness of a broken world, where the lines between puppet and human blur, the story of LiesOfP unfolds with a haunting question. What does it mean to truly become human? And more importantly, how far will a father go to restore his lost son? These stories, though separated by time and medium, echo one another in profound ways. Both LiesOfP and the classic tale of Pinocchio explore themes of identity, transformation, and fatherhood. In LiesOfP, these themes take on darker, more tragic tones. It's a tale not just of self-discovery, but of loss of innocence, of humanity, and of hope. Before diving into LiesOfP, let's revisit the classic story that inspired it all, Carlo Collodi's The Adventures of Pinocchio. This is far from the charming Disney version most are familiar with. Written in 1883, the story of Pinocchio is surprisingly dark, filled with moral lessons meant to guide children in a world where disobedience is severely punished and honesty is rewarded. However, it's not as simple as that. Pinocchio is a mischievous puppet carved by Geppetto, a poor woodcarver who dreams of having a son. From the very beginning, Pinocchio disobeys Geppetto and sets off on his own misadventures, which lead him into increasingly dangerous situations. Throughout Collodi's story, Pinocchio faces a variety of consequences for his actions. He lies and his nose grows. He shirks responsibility and he's transformed into a donkey. These transformations are physical manifestations of his moral failings. Every time he disobeys or tries to cheat his way through life, he suffers for it. One of the most pivotal points in the story occurs when Pinocchio, now transformed into a donkey due to his laziness, is sold to a circus and ultimately thrown into the sea, where he is swallowed by a giant shark. It is here, in the body of a mile-long shark, and that's not even including the length of the tail, that Pinocchio sacrifices his own life to save Geppetto. You see, earlier in the story, Pinocchio never returned home to his father. He was on another one of his misadventures, and Geppetto, doing what any decent father would do, sets off to find his lost son, even if that meant he would have to traverse the ocean on a dinky boat all by himself. In doing so, Geppetto was swallowed by the shark. Fortunately for him, the shark also ate an entire ship that had a plethora of food and supplies, so that is how Geppetto was able to stay alive as long as he did within the shark. But conveniently enough, when Pinocchio was swallowed by the shark, Geppetto was all out of supplies and all out of food. It was at this very moment Pinocchio finally took matters into his own hands in order to save his father. Pinocchio took charge and eventually got his father out of the shark and back to land. This act of bravery and selflessness is the key to his redemption and eventual transformation into a real boy. This is the moment when Pinocchio truly becomes real, not because of any magical intervention, but because he has learned the importance of sacrifice, hard work, and responsibility. In LiesOfP, the journey is similar, but is much more tragic and morally ambiguous. In this dystopian retelling, Pinocchio, known as P, awakens in a world that has fallen into ruin. The once thriving city of Krat is overrun by monstrous puppets and plagued by an epidemic, the petrification disease. Its origins are unclear, but it swept through the city in at least 2 waves, turning victims' blood blue and covering their bodies with crystals or stone-like scales. Symptoms included severe cold, scabies, and eventually organ failure. With the disease impacting both physical and mental health, infected individuals were quarantined and signs warned the public to avoid contact with them. Geppetto, P's creator, has gone missing, and P's only guide is the voice of a mysterious lamp. While Collodi's Pinocchio dealt with moral lessons and personal growth through disobedience and its consequences, LiesOfP adds a layer of existential dread. The city of Krat is a metaphor for a society that has lost its way, a place where truth and lies are difficult to distinguish, and where survival often requires deception. One of the game's core mechanics is the ability to lie. These lies directly affect P's humanity and transformation. Unlike Collodi's Pinocchio, who suffers consequences for dishonesty, P's lies bring him closer to humanity. This twist raises a profound question. Can lying, something traditionally seen as morally wrong, actually make someone more human? In my view, lying is an intrinsic part of human nature. Everyone lies at some point, and in that sense, telling a lie is inherently human. However, the real harm comes not just from lying, but from exploiting and manipulating the truth. People are often driven to lie as a means of self-preservation, to avoid the harsh realities that others might use against them. In my view, compulsive liars tend to fall into two categories. The first are usually well-meaning, innocent individuals who lie out of insecurity and often cause no real harm. The other group, however, consists of more narcissistic individuals who lie with the intent to manipulate and control others for their own benefit. Fatherhood is a crucial theme in both stories. In Collodi's version, Geppetto is a humble woodcarver driven by the simple desire for companionship and family. He loves Pinocchio unconditionally, despite the puppet's many flaws, and goes to great lengths to save him, even risking his life at times. In LiesOfP, however, Geppetto's role is far more complex and tragic. This version of Geppetto is not simply trying to create a son. He's attempting to restore something he has lost. His relationship with P is tinged with sorrow, guilt, and desperation. Every time P makes a choice, Geppetto's influence looms in the background, as if P's actions are being guided not just by his creator, but by Geppetto's need to reclaim his lost son. This begs the question, does Geppetto's desperation to regain his son mirror real-world scenarios where parents project their own desires onto their children, often to the detriment of their child's autonomy? Growing up, like many of you, I was always encouraged to go to college and play sports. While those experiences did bring some positive benefits, I often wonder where I'd be today had I followed my own instincts rather than the expectations placed on me by not only my parents, but oftentimes many adults. There are certainly aspects of my life that would have unfolded differently if I had listened to myself more. As a parent now, and seeing how other parents approach raising their children, I've noticed a trend of trying to shield kids from failure, from making mistakes, or from going against the grain. It often feels like some parents are attempting to live vicariously through their children, projecting their own desires onto them. While it's a well-meaning form of protection, it can stifle a child's autonomy and growth. It's a real issue, though I admit, I don't have all the answers for how to solve it. In both stories, deception plays a central role. In Collodi's tale, Pinocchio's lies are punished in simple, almost humorous ways. His nose grows longer. But in LiesOfP, lying takes on a far more complex dimension. The lies P tells are necessary for his survival, and they actually contribute to his transformation into a human. This raises a deeper philosophical question. What does it mean to be human? Is it simply about telling the truth and adhering to moral principles? Or is humanity something more, something that involves navigating a world filled with lies and moral ambiguity? LiesOfP suggests that humanity isn't just about doing good, it's about making difficult, sometimes morally gray choices in order to survive. I do believe that lying is sometimes necessary for survival. There's a reason humans developed the ability to lie, and it likely has deep evolutionary ties to self-preservation. But when it comes to personal growth, I don't think lying is the answer. The phrase fake it till you make it comes to mind, and while faking it might help you in the short term, it's not a sustainable path to long-term success. If you don't eventually become proficient in what you're pretending to be, it can negatively impact your growth. In the end, I think it's better to embrace honesty and take the slower, more authentic journey rather than chasing after quick, superficial progress. In LiesOfP, Krat is not just a setting, but a character in itself. The city, once grand and technologically advanced, has fallen into disarray. Its decline mirrors the internal decay of its people and their creations, puppets that have rebelled against their creators. Krat is a fitting symbol for the game's exploration of lies and truth. Its once beautiful architecture now lies in ruins, covered in grime and debris, reflecting the cost of unchecked ambition and moral corruption. The people of Krat, desperate to survive, have resorted to lies and deception, much like P. This setting adds another layer to the game's theme of what it means to be human. In a world that has fallen so far from grace, does it really matter what is true or false anymore? The city of Krat as a metaphor for our modern world makes sense, especially when you look at how rapid technological progress has created both incredible advancements and deep societal fractures. In many ways, technology has connected us like never before, but it's also left us more isolated and disillusioned. The decay in Krat mirrors the disillusionment we see today. People feel disconnected, lost in a world where technology often serves to divide, manipulate, or overwhelm. The breakdown of Krat society can reflect how unchecked progress without a balance of humanity and ethical grounding can lead to societal collapse. In our world, it's not the literal rebellion of machines, but the erosion of trust, the loss of empathy, and the manipulation of truth that we grapple with as a result of technological overreach.
I see they got Jiminy too, but we have to hurry.
In LiesOfP, P's guide is not a cricket, as in Collodi's story, but a mysterious, sentient lamp named Gemini. Like the cricket, Gemini acts as a moral compass, offering advice and wisdom as P navigates the dangers of Krat. However, there's a stark difference between Gemini and the original cricket. While the cricket in Pinocchio served as a straightforward guide advocating for good behavior, Gemini is a more cryptic figure. The advice it offers often pushes P toward morally questionable actions, urging him to lie in order to progress. This makes Gemini a reflection of the game's deeper themes of deception and moral uncertainty. It also emphasizes the idea that in LiesOfP, the line between good and evil is never clearly drawn. Gemini's role as Pinocchio's conscience, with its morally ambiguous guidance, reflects the gray areas we encounter in modern society. But I believe it's important to always stay true to yourself, no matter the pressure you face. For example, people today often struggle with social media, where they are encouraged to present only the best version of themselves, sometimes pretending to be something they're not just to fit in. But at the end of the day, being yourself is what truly matters. Authenticity brings freedom, while trying to live up to an image just builds stress and disconnection. In LiesOfP, Gemini's guidance might tempt Pinocchio to lie or take shortcuts, but that only mirrors how life sometimes pushes us to make easier, less truthful choices. Staying true to who we are, even when it's difficult, is what builds the real strength and self-respect. Ultimately, the transformation from puppet to human in both stories comes at a cost. For Collodi's Pinocchio, it is the loss of innocence and the embrace of responsibility that allows him to become real. In LiesOfP, however, the journey is much darker. P's transformation is not necessarily a reward, it's a burden. Becoming human in a world filled with lies and corruption is not something to be celebrated, but something to be endured. This final note on transformation leads us to the ultimate conclusion that in both stories, becoming human is not about gaining physical traits, but about understanding the complexities of the world around us. It's about sacrifice, deception, and the choices that define us. The final transformation in LiesOfP can be seen as a powerful metaphor for the loss of innocence, but also as a necessary evolution in a world that's both broken and complicated. Becoming human, in this context, comes with the price of facing harsh realities, pain, loss, and moral complexity. It's not just about gaining freedom or individuality, but about stepping into a world where choices are rarely clear-cut and the consequences are often heavy. In many ways, the transformation feels bittersweet. On one hand, Pinocchio becomes real, in the sense that he gains autonomy and self-awareness. On the other hand, he sheds the simplicity and innocence of being a puppet, where his actions were often dictated by external forces. It's a reflection of our own journey into adulthood, where we lose the safety of childhood, but gain the capacity to shape our destinies, though not without scars. So, in LiesOfP, this transformation is a necessary evolution. To survive in a fractured world, one has to grow, adapt, and sometimes even lose parts of themselves. But that loss, though painful, is what allows for growth and true agency. The question becomes, is that loss worth it? For me, it's a reminder that while evolution is inevitable, it often comes with sacrifices that we must be willing to confront. In both Pinocchio and LiesOfP, the journey to become human is fraught with challenges, moral dilemmas, and loss. But while Pinocchio's transformation is framed as a happy ending, one where he finally earns his place in the human world, P's transformation is far more unclear. Becoming human in LiesOfP is not portrayed as a reward for good behavior. It is a burden, a consequence of living in a world filled with lies, where truth is elusive and survival requires moral compromise. P's journey asks the player to reflect on their own understanding of humanity. Is it about adhering to strict moral codes? Or is it about embracing the messy, complicated reality of life? This, to me, reflects the human experience. In our own world, we face countless obstacles and often have to make morally gray decisions. Yet, the fact that we continue to pursue purpose, connection, and truth shows that hope remains, even in the most dystopian of circumstances. In LiesOfP, hope is not presented as a grand, sweeping solution to the problems of Krat, but as a quiet, persistent force that drives Pinocchio and us to keep moving forward, to keep fighting, and to keep believing that something better can emerge from the ruins. So while LiesOfP portrays a world steeped in tragedy, The very act of Pinocchio's transformation, his desires to become human and rise above the chaos, signals that there's always room for hope, no matter how dire the circumstances may seem. Ultimately, LiesOfP is not just a retelling of Collodi's classic story, it's a deep, philosophical exploration of what it means to be human in a world that has lost its way. Through its dark, dystopian lens, the game asks us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves, about the lies we tell, and about the cost of becoming real. LiesOfP left a profound impression on me. The game's atmosphere is incredibly immersive, blending a dark, evocative world with a deeply personal story. It resonates on a fundamental level, reminding us of the resilience required to face life's challenges. The game encapsulates the essence of perseverance, moving forward one step at a time, despite overwhelming odds. Furthermore, LiesOfP confronts us with a disturbing and emotional question. What would we do if we lost someone we deeply loved, like a child? The game challenges us to consider the lengths we would go to bring them back and the costs associated with such a decision. It's a powerful exploration of sacrifice, love, and the complexities of human emotion. In the end, LiesOfP isn't just a tale of transformation, it's a reflection on our own struggles and the choices we make. It resonates with me because it mirrors the very human experience of grappling with loss and hope, reminding us that even in the darkest times, our actions and decisions define who we are.